This morning, before the world starts measuring you, before numbers, timelines, milestones, and other people's progress begin speaking loudly, you need to hear something steady. Comparison is not just a habit. It is a pressure system. It quietly trains the mind to believe that life is a race, that purpose has a deadline, that worth can be ranked. And most people don't even realize when it starts shaping their decisions. They wake up already behind, already evaluating, already explaining themselves internally. This prayer is not about pretending comparison doesn't exist. It's about learning how to stand without bending under it. Because courage is not loud confidence. Courage is remaining aligned when pressure tries to redirect you. Comparison rarely announces itself. It slips in through observation, through scrolling, through conversations that sound harmless, through questions people ask without realizing their weight. How far are you now? Shouldn't you be further? Did you see what they achieved? Slowly, subtly, the mind starts tracking life externally. Instead of listening inward, attention shifts outward. Direction becomes distorted. Decisions become rushed. Peace becomes conditional. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. Society trains urgency early. Achievement is rewarded faster than alignment. Visibility is praised more than depth. So comparison doesn't mean you lack gratitude. It means you live in a world that rarely honors quiet growth. Comparison doesn't just create envy. It erodes clarity. When the mind keeps scanning others, it loses intimacy with its own rhythm. You begin questioning instincts that were once clear, second-guessing timing that once felt right, abandoning paths not because they were wrong, but because they were slower. This is where many people disconnect from purpose, not through rebellion, but through impatience. Pressure convinces them that delay equals failure. That difference equals deficiency. That stillness equals stagnation. But stillness is often preparation in disguise. Courage is misunderstood. It's often portrayed as bold action, fearless speech, dramatic leaps. But spiritual courage looks different. It is the decision to remain grounded when everyone else seems ahead. It is choosing integrity over imitation, faith over performance, alignment over applause. Courage is staying with your process, even when it doesn't match the popular timeline. That kind of courage requires silence, reflection, and trust that purpose unfolds with precision, not haste. No two callings are built the same. Some paths require exposure early. Others require obscurity first. Some people are shaped publicly, others privately. Comparison ignores context. It strips stories of complexity. It flattens journeys into outcomes. You don't see the sacrifices behind progress. You don't see the cost behind visibility. You don't see the internal negotiations others make. And more importantly, you don't see what you are being protected from. Pressure doesn't always feel aggressive. Sometimes it sounds reasonable, practical, concerned. But beneath it lives fear. Fear of missing opportunity. Fear of disappointing expectations. Fear of not being taken seriously. This fear pushes people to rush alignment, to accept paths that don't fit, to pursue success that doesn't sustain them. And over time, they gain momentum, but lose meaning. Courage interrupts this pattern. Morning is where pressure is weakest. Before comparison activates, before narratives start forming, before external voices gain volume. This is why morning prayer matters. Not because it changes circumstances instantly, but because it centers perspective. It reminds you who is leading. It reorients intention. It stabilizes identity before exposure. You don't need louder motivation. You need clearer grounding. Success defined externally is unstable. It shifts with trends. It depends on visibility. It expires quickly. But success defined internally is rooted. It measures faithfulness, not speed. Integrity, not image. Alignment, not approval. When success is internal, comparison loses leverage. This doesn't make ambition disappear. It makes it cleaner. This morning is not asking you to suppress emotion. It's asking you to observe it honestly. Where has comparison been influencing your thinking? Where has pressure been guiding decisions? Where has fear disguised itself as motivation? Awareness is the first form of courage, and courage always begins internally. Jealousy is one of the most misunderstood emotions in spiritual spaces. It is often treated as something shameful, something to suppress quickly, something that disqualifies a person from being grateful or faithful. But jealousy itself is not the enemy. It is a signal. It points to desire. It exposes longing. It highlights areas where the heart feels unseen or delayed. The problem is not that jealousy appears. The problem is what happens when it goes unexamined. When ignored, jealousy hardens into resentment. When denied, it mutates into self-criticism. When misunderstood, it quietly reshapes identity. Instead of asking, "Why am I feeling this?" people rush to silence it. But clarity comes from listening, not avoiding. Desire in its pure form is not destructive. It is directional. It shows what the soul is drawn toward. It reveals values, hopes, and visions. Comparison distorts this. Instead of desire saying, "I am capable of more," comparison whispers, "I am behind." Instead of desire inspiring growth, comparison demands proof. Suddenly, what once felt like a calling begins to feel like inadequacy. You stop asking what is being cultivated within you, and start asking why it hasn't shown up yet. This is how comparison steals direction. Not by removing purpose, but by clouding perception. One of the greatest lies society sells is the idea of universal timing, that there is a correct age, season, or pace for achievement. That progress should be visible by a certain point. That delay must be justified. This belief creates invisible deadlines. People begin rushing life events not because they are ready, but because they fear being judged. They accept relationships for appearances, careers for credibility, paths for validation. Rarely does anyone ask, "Is this aligned with who I am becoming?" Pressure rarely allows space for that question. When decisions are shaped by comparison, the cost is internal. Confidence becomes unstable. Identity becomes reactive. Motivation becomes fragile. You may look accomplished on the outside, while feeling disconnected within. This is the quiet exhaustion many carry, not because they are doing too much, but because they are doing what does not belong to them. Rushed alignment produces external motion without internal peace. And peace is not a luxury, it is confirmation. Self-trust is not lost in one moment, it erodes gradually. Each time intuition is ignored to match a timeline, each time clarity is overridden by comparison, each time inner prompting is dismissed as fear, over time the voice within becomes faint. Decisions feel heavier, direction feels uncertain, confidence feels borrowed instead of rooted. People then look outward even more, seeking reassurance, confirmation, approval. And the cycle continues. Morning carries a unique honesty. The mind has not yet been crowded. The spirit has not yet been pulled outward. The body has not yet absorbed the day's pressure. This is when clarity is easiest to access. Not because answers appear, but because distractions are quieter. Morning prayer is not about asking for more. It is about returning to alignment before influence interferes. This is where courage is formed, not in reaction, but in preparation. Breaking free from comparison does not require harsh self-correction. It requires compassion. Acknowledging pressure without condemning yourself. Recognizing jealousy without shame. Noticing insecurity without labeling it failure. Gentleness creates space for honesty, and honesty is where real transformation begins. Courage is not demanding perfection, it is allowing awareness. Courage does not ask you to deny reality, it asks you to choose alignment anyway, to trust that unseen preparation is meaningful, to believe that timing is intentional, to move forward without constantly checking who is ahead. Courage is choosing depth over display, substance over speed, faith over comparison. This choice is quiet, daily, intentional, and it changes everything. One of the most dangerous effects of comparison is not jealousy, it is redefinition. Without realizing it, worth begins to shift from something internal into something measurable. It becomes tied to milestones, to visibility, to recognition, to proof. You don't wake up one day deciding this. It happens gradually. Worth becomes something to be earned instead of something to be stewarded. And once worth becomes conditional, peace becomes unstable. Because there will always be someone further ahead. Always another achievement. Always a new standard. Comparison keeps moving the finish line, and the soul never rests. Validation is external. Value is intrinsic. Validation fluctuates. Value remains. But society teaches the opposite. It teaches that applause confirms meaning, that approval signals success, that attention equals importance. Over time, people begin outsourcing their sense of self. They wait for feedback before trusting direction. They wait for results before believing effort matters. They wait for affirmation before honoring obedience. This creates dependence, and dependence weakens courage, because courage requires inner authority, not permission. Purpose is not a performance. It is a responsibility. It requires patience, discipline, and restraint. Comparison turns purpose into a competition, and competition demands speed, shortcuts, and constant proof. But purpose matures slowly. It deepens in silence. It strengthens through consistency. It clarifies through reflection. When you compare your process to someone else's outcome, you confuse formation with completion. You begin judging seeds against harvests, and seeds are not supposed to look impressive. Identity rarely collapses dramatically. It fades subtly. You start editing yourself to fit expectations, softening instincts to avoid judgment, ignoring convictions to appear agreeable. You begin asking, is this acceptable? Instead of, is this aligned? Pressure rewards conformity, but alignment requires courage. And the cost of losing alignment is internal fragmentation. You may function well but feel disconnected. You may succeed outwardly but feel hollow inwardly. This is the price of borrowed identity. Self-trust is rebuilt through attention, not affirmation, not motivation. Attention. Paying attention to what drains you. Paying attention to what steadies you. Paying attention to what brings clarity instead of chaos. Comparison scatters attention outward. Courage gathers it inward. Each time you listen to inner prompting, even in small decisions, self-trust strengthens. Each time you honor discernment, even without validation, identity stabilizes. Trust grows through practice, not perfection. Many people avoid stillness not because it lacks value, but because it removes distraction. In stillness, comparison quiets. Excuses fade. Truth becomes audible. And truth requires responsibility. Stillness exposes misalignment gently but clearly. This is why silence often feels restless before it feels peaceful. But courage does not flee discomfort. It learns from it. And in that learning, direction sharpens. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not required to justify your season. Timing is not a public agreement. It is a private unfolding. When you release the need to explain your pace, something shifts internally. Pressure loosens. Clarity strengthens. Confidence settles. You stop rushing clarity. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing confirmation. This is not stagnation. This is grounding. Courage is not a single decision. It is repeated alignment, choosing truth over trend again and again, choosing integrity over imitation again and again, choosing peace over pressure again and again. These choices are quiet. They rarely attract applause. They rarely look impressive, but they build stability, and stability outlasts popularity. Before prayer becomes petition, it must become posture, a posture of honesty, of surrender, of readiness. Prayer is not asking God to compete with others on your behalf. It is asking for clarity strong enough to resist comparison. It is asking for courage that does not depend on timing. It is asking for peace that remains even when others seem ahead. This is the ground we stand on before we pray. Courage is often imagined as a turning point, a dramatic decision, a defining leap, a visible shift. But in reality, courage is rarely loud or sudden. It is practiced quietly, repeatedly, in moments no one witnesses. It shows up when you resist the urge to measure your life against someone else's highlight, when you choose patience instead of panic, when you remain faithful to a process that feels unseen. Courage is not found in grand gestures. It is cultivated through consistency. Each morning presents a choice. Will today be led by comparison or by conviction? This choice is subtle, but it accumulates. Comparison does not rest. It presents itself daily, sometimes hourly through images, conversations, expectations, and internal dialogue. Even progress can trigger it. You achieve something meaningful and suddenly your mind asks, is it enough? Is it impressive? How does it measure up? This is how comparison disguises itself as ambition. But ambition rooted in comparison is unstable. It pushes without direction. It demands without discernment. Courage interrupts this pattern by asking a different question. Is this aligned with who I am becoming? A question slows the mind. It brings intention back to the center. Societal pressure works because it is repeated. The same definitions of success, the same timelines, the same expectations. Over time, repetition feels like truth. People begin absorbing beliefs without questioning them. That speed equals competence. That visibility equals value. That achievement equals fulfillment. These narratives are powerful, not because they are accurate, but because they are constant. Courage requires discernment. It requires the willingness to question what has been normalized. Not everything that is common is correct. Not everything that is celebrated is sustainable. Moving at your own pace is not easy. It invites misunderstanding. It attracts unsolicited advice. It can feel isolating. Others may not recognize the internal work happening beneath the surface. They may mistake quiet for stagnation. They may assume delay equals indecision. But alignment often looks like delay to those unfamiliar with depth. Courage does not rush to be understood. It remains faithful to clarity, even when misunderstood. One of the quiet burdens comparison creates is the need to explain. Explain why you are where you are. Explain why you chose this path. Explain why your timeline looks different. This need drains energy. Not every season requires explanation. Not every decision needs justification. Courage releases the pressure to perform understanding for others. It trusts that alignment does not need constant defense. Progress is often measured by movement, but some of the most significant growth happens internally. Clarity deepens. Discernment sharpens. Peace stabilizes. These shifts may not be visible, but they are foundational. Without internal stability, external progress collapses under pressure. Courage prioritizes inner grounding before outward expansion. It builds from the inside out. It is difficult to stay present when comparison pulls attention forward. The mind starts living in imagined futures or borrowed timelines. But presence is where peace resides. Presence allows you to notice what is being formed now, not what is missing. Courage chooses presence over projection. It anchors you in what is real instead of what is assumed. Consistency rarely feels impressive. It lacks novelty. It lacks urgency. It lacks recognition. But consistency compounds. Small, faithful steps taken daily reshape identity over time. Courage is not built through intensity. It is built through steadiness. This steadiness becomes unshakable. Before prayer can be bold, the heart must be honest. Honest about where comparison has influenced decisions. Honest about where pressure has overridden peace. Honest about where fear has been mistaken for wisdom. This honesty is not condemnation, it is clarity. And clarity prepares the heart for surrender. At this point, something has shifted. The mind is quieter. The heart is more aware. The grip of comparison has loosened. This is where prayer becomes powerful. Not because words are louder, but because alignment is deeper. The prayer that follows will not beg. It will not rush. It will not compete. It will stand. Father God, this morning I come to you without masks, without performance, without pretending that comparison has not touched my heart. I acknowledge it honestly. I have seen others advance while I remained in preparation. I have watched doors open for people beside me while mine stayed closed. I have felt the quiet tension of wondering whether I am moving too slowly, whether I am missing something, whether my timing is flawed. And yet I am here, still breathing, still becoming, still held. Today I choose courage, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stays aligned. I release the pressure to compete. I release the weight of invisible deadlines. I release the urge to measure my worth through someone else's outcome. Remove from my heart the habit of self-comparison that quietly steals joy and distorts purpose. Teach me how to honor my own path without resenting another's progress. Teach me how to celebrate without self-abandonment. Teach me how to wait without bitterness. Teach me how to trust without needing proof. Father, steady my thoughts. When my mind starts scanning outward for validation, redirect my attention inward toward truth. When fear disguises itself as wisdom, give me discernment sharp enough to recognize the difference. Silence the voice that rushes me. Quiet the voice that questions my value. Dismantle the lie that I am behind. Replace it with clarity. Replace it with peace. Replace it with confidence rooted in you. I ask for courage today. Not courage to compare, but courage to commit. Courage to stay present in my season. Courage to remain faithful in obscurity. Courage to walk steadily, even when the pace feels misunderstood. Strengthen my identity so deeply that external pressure loses its grip. Let my confidence be anchored, not borrowed. Let my direction be guided, not reactive. Let my progress be authentic, not performative. Father, heal the places where jealousy tried to take root, not with shame, but with understanding. Reveal what those feelings were pointing toward. Clarify the desires beneath them. Purify the longings that belong to my calling. I refuse to let comparison corrupt what you are forming. I ask for patience that does not feel passive, for faith that does not depend on visibility, for peace that does not collapse under delay. If my journey requires silence before expansion, give me grace to remain grounded. If my growth demands depth before display, give me strength to resist shortcuts. If my assignment unfolds privately before it manifests publicly, help me honor that process without resentment. Father, recalibrate my definition of success. Let success be alignment. Let success be obedience. Let success be integrity maintained when no one is watching. Guard my heart from bitterness. Guard my mind from distortion. Guard my spirit from comparison fatigue. Replace striving with steadiness. Replace urgency with trust. Replace anxiety with assurance. Today I choose courage over comparison. Not once, not temporarily, but intentionally. I will walk my path without apology. I will respect my pace without explanation. I will honor my calling without dilution. Lead me clearly, anchor me deeply, hold me firmly. And as I move forward today, let my confidence come from alignment with you, not from proximity to others. I trust you with my timing. I trust you with my process. I trust you with my becoming. Amen. As you move into this day, carry this quietly. You are not required to outrun anyone. You are not assigned to someone else's timeline. You are not obligated to explain your pace. Courage today does not mean doing more. It means staying aligned. Let others move quickly if that is their calling. Let others be visible if that is their assignment. Your responsibility is faithfulness to your path, your process, your peace, and that is enough.